What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another installment of Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Guys, happy Saturday. It's so good to be back with you. I was not here last week. I had some responsibilities I had to take care of, unfortunately. However, we are here, and we're going to get it popping in to catch you up on everything that's been going on, coming out of the state of Florida. Right now, as we speak, actually, we have Miami and North Carolina going down to the wire right now. There's 11 seconds left in the ball game, and North Carolina is up by 3 with now 9.7 seconds to go. I think the ball was just knocked out by North Carolina, so Miami's going to have a chance to try and tie the ball game here, but it's coming down to a wire. What a game it's been. North Carolina had a 10-point lead, and that has since dwindled down. At one point, it was only a 2-point lead, and just due to the nature of the situation, Miami's going to have to hit something special, so I'll tell you what happens as I'm watching it live at the moment. But, hey, everybody. Hey, Dad. How's it going? Taryn, good to see you, brother. Thank you guys so much, guys. Let's have a good show. Let's get to the details we got going on today. And, so let's get started where things left off last, which would be the NFL. So, as you guys know, obviously all 3 teams in Florida were knocked out of the playoffs, unfortunately. And so because of that, our offseason started pretty early. For those of you who did not catch on, Dave Canellis, our one-time offensive coordinator here, has been hired by the rival Carolina Panthers. I said the last time I was here that I felt that was more of a worse move for him outside of lining his family up for success with being able to get a little bit more financial dividends for his services. He's going to a place where the owner is a bit of a loose cannon, and that's not good when you're in an ownership role, right? So we all saw what happened with Frank Wright last year, or was it Frank Wright? I'm sorry. Yeah, Frank Wright. I believe it was the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, and, well, it didn't end well. Right, so that's something that you look at, you pay attention to, and for somebody like Dave Canellis, who came here to Tampa, and in 1 year was able to do a phenomenal job with Baker Mayfield and this new offense of his, this rebuilding offense, if you will, now that Tom Brady has, since retired. We'll talk about Tom in a minute, actually, but this was just something I wanted to touch on because I don't think we gave him enough credit. As a fandom and as people who watch the game of football, it's really hard to go into a how can I say, a situation, I guess, that, Baker Mayfield and the Bucs were in, right? So, Tom Brady retires, and the biggest question is, how do you bounce back from the GOAT retiring? And Tampa Bay, I think, did a phenomenal job of that, finding the best free agent quarterback out there, signing him for, pennies on the dollar, essentially, being that we were, quote-unquote, broke last year. And look what we were able to do with it, right? Bring home a Division South crown. Yes, obviously it's the weakest division in football, but a win is a win is a win. And then getting a win in the playoffs against the Eagles, who had just won the NFC the year before. I mean, absolutely massive things going on here. It looks like it couldn't have gone better when you go back to High Sabi in 2020 and all. Excuse me, my apologies. You look at the other quarterbacks, the other free agent quarterbacks here, okay? And this is something I want to talk about because we're gonna dive deeper into this part, right? So Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps before his season was over, right? So Aaron Rodgers on paper was obviously the best quarterback in free agency last year, but he was the first one to get injured. You have Jimmy Garoppolo, who's a walking injury, right? I don't know if he's played a complete 16 games, now 17 games in his entire career, to be completely honest with you. Not to say he's not a good quarterback. He's a decent quarterback, but he can't stay healthy. So, there's that. And then now you have, obviously, Baker Mayfield, who is this once before overall, number 1 overall draft pick, a guy who had a lot of hopes coming out of college, somebody that I watched and I admired in college myself, and to see how he performed in the Browns, taking the Browns to a playoff game, and then being able to find some success there. I always felt like he could do it if he was just given the right opportunity, the right chance. Of course, Carolina, gave him a chance, but Carolina, again, loose cannon of a football team, loose cannon of ownership, and it makes all kind of sense. I mean, look what they did. They got rid of all their best players, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Baker Mayfield was somebody that could have been special for them, and obviously, they decided to move on from him. So Tampa Bay being able to find success with Baker Mayfield is something that shouldn't be understated, and because of that, I think that brings us into the new era of Tampa Bay football, and what the foreseeable era will be, for Tampa Bay, which will be our new offensive coordinator hiring of Liam Cohen. Okay, so first things first, for those of you who are familiar with him, I'm pretty sure you agree this is a great hire for Tampa Bay. Okay, first and foremost. Secondly, if you're not familiar with him, allow me to jog a memory. For those of you who watched football last year, not the end of this season, but the year before, where Baker Mayfield started with Carolina but ended up in LA, he found success in LA. Guys, if you didn't watch any of those games, I actually watched a couple of those games, and he was playing as good as football as he's played pretty much his entire career that second half of the season when he came in for those, I think, 5 games for LA. And that was something that can be attributed to having also Liam Cohen there, who was the, I think he was a quarterback coach for LA at the time. And then he also would go on to be offensive coordinator for the Kentucky, the football team, University of Kentucky. But what is their mascot? Oh my gosh. Anyway, it's a big blue creature, like furry looking creature, but you get what I'm saying. For University of Kentucky, he going to be offensive coordinator for them. As a Gator, we actually saw him, and unfortunately we lost to him, so that is bittersweet, but still a good feeling to know that this is the guy that's going to do the head coach or the offensive coordinating duties. My apologies. Our head coach is going to stay the same with Todd Bowles, but Liam Cohen, absolutely phenomenal hire. He's already worked with Baker in the past, which is a big reason why he came here, for one. And then 2, there we go, Kentucky Wildcats. Thank you, Dad. I'm like, Jesus, I know it's a big blue creature, but what was it? So there you go. I'm watching University of Carolina right now, so that's not helping because they're the Tar Heels and they also wear blue. But I digress. So again, this hire, huge hire for Tampa Bay. I don't know if it's as pivotal as the Dave Canellis hire will be, but I think that there will also be similarities in the offense. Liam Cohen spoke heavily about utilizing the run game and being able to make this offensive line more cohesive to be able to run the ball effectively, knowing that obviously a good run game is key, is paramount for any good offense. I mean, you rarely ever hear of a good offense that doesn't run the football, and the few times that you do, they're kind of glass cannon, right? So we don't want to be a glass cannon. We want to be all around, right? We want to be sort of like the San Francisco 49ers, who will be playing in the Super Bowl tomorrow. That's going to be a wonderful game. Go Niners. We'll talk about that again in a second too, but this Liam Cohen signing, absolutely huge for Tampa Bay, huge for Baker Mayfield, and that also spreads out into will the Bucs re-sign Baker Mayfield? The answer to that question is almost certainly yes. Obviously, the Buccaneers have inside track on him, and as well as Mike Evans. I fully suspect that Tampa Bay will sign probably Mike Evans first, and then Chris Godwin. No, we've already got Chris Godwin for another year after this, but sign Baker Mayfield shortly after that. I think Mike Evans is the key piece. Mike Evans is the tenured guy on offense here, and he's also the heart and soul of this team. He has been the heart and soul of this team since before even Tom got here, and that's something that we were able to build a championship around, which was Mike Evans. So I'm thinking the Bucs would probably sign Mike Evans. Whatever he wants is most likely what he's going to get. It doesn't really matter at this point. If I was the front office of Tampa Bay, I'd give him whatever he wants, and I'm pretty sure they're thinking the same thing. So look for it in this order, right? You go, Mike Evans is going to sign first. Then after that, you're going to sign Baker. After you get those 2 signings done, okay? Excuse me, my apologies, guys. After you get those 2 signings done, it becomes a lot easier to sign the other pieces around, like Tristan Wirfs, who's probably going to get franchise tag. Look for either him or Antoine Winfield to get the franchise tag. They could franchise tag Baker, but I don't see the point in doing that because you already just signed him for lower. So, I don't really... I don't really agree with that idea, but that is something they could do. Obviously, Mike Evans is going to get a deal more than likely. And then again, Antoine Winfield Jr. And then Lavonte David, if he wants to re-sign or if he wants to retire, I think that's something that's up in the air for him. I think he wants to continue to play. I think he's still got it in him. I wouldn't be surprised if he gave us 1 or possibly even 2 more years. But that's what it looks like for the Bucs. And as far as signing their vets, their talent from last year that saw them reach the success that they were able to reach. Which is, again, a very big deal because I don't think anybody saw this coming. Tampa Bay had an 8.5% chance to make the playoffs, let alone win the division, let alone win a playoff game, okay? So we were able to completely, outdo all the haters, all the statistics, everything that I think people were expecting is what didn't happen. And, now we have some continuity on this team, and I think obviously the team and the owners, the Glazers, if I know them well enough, they're going to want to keep that continuity, especially seeing the success that we had last year. So good job, Tampa Bay. Guys, I look forward to seeing them get their players re-signed. That's a big deal. Also, real quick, to touch on the cap situation here in the NFC South, for those of you who did not know, Tampa Bay comes in with the best cap available, with a cap space available, I should say, which is essentially 42 mil, okay? So that's huge. Tampa Bay should absolutely be able to take care of who they need to take care of here in the offseason. I'm pretty sure they'll come up with a few more mil before the offseason, wraps up and have the people that they need to be signed. I look forward to Jason Licht having another phenomenal draft. This guy's one of the best drafters in all of football, and if you don't believe that, just look at the success that he's found over the last 5-6 years here in Tampa Bay. He's been drafting some absolute nutcases, and by the way, his first overall draft pick here was Mike Evans. Okay, so that's also something else for you guys to take consideration. Good job, Tampa Bay, on rebounding. It looks like we were able to make it through that dark age that we were going to have to deal with. And there's that. Now, Jen, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. And Dad, I see what you were saying there about comeback player of the year. So, okay, I want to touch on that real quick, guys, because that was actually one of the things that came to my attention this past week was the NFL honors. Okay, so for those of you who didn't watch NFL honors, okay, Lamar Jackson won MVP. Okay, so that's the first thing. Congratulations, Lamar. You absolutely deserve it. There's no doubt in my mind and much anybody else's mind that you didn't deserve it. Unfortunately, the last game didn't want you to go as you guys wanted, but this is where guys, I'm going to be a fan, but I'm also going to be a professional, okay? I definitely want to address this, okay? There's a lot of bias in the NFL. And it showed itself in that AFC Championship game. Now, I am a Patrick Mahomes fan. I am an Andy Reid fan. I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm happy Andy's not with the Eagles anymore. But I've always been impartial to the Chiefs since way back in the day. I think it's a great franchise. I think it's a storied franchise. And Joe Montana actually went to go play for the Chiefs after he left the 49ers. I think that's where my love started for the Chiefs as a 49ers fan. Okay? Here's what my issue is. There's too much clouding the performance that we saw. That AFC Championship game was a game that could have easily gone either way. It just seems so much like the meter was weighing heavily on the Chiefs and less with the Ravens, as in it seemed like things just went the Chiefs' way even where they weren't supposed to, right? So whenever I'm watching football like that, it's always a hard thing to deal with. It's always a hard pill to swallow simply because I want to see a fair game. I want to see the guys go out there and I want to see them duke it out. Injuries happen. Plays like that interception that Lamar threw into triple coverage. When you look at that play, you see that Isaiah Likely threw his hand up as if he was open when he was in fact not open. That's a coaching issue. You see what I'm saying? So these are things that are going to have to be fixed. Unfortunately, Lamar and the Ravens fell short to the Chiefs, and we're going to see a repeat of the Super Bowl we had 6 years ago, which, hey, whatever, what can we do about it? 5 years ago, my apologies. But point being this, Lamar deserved MVP every bit of the way. The man was absolutely phenomenal this year, and I look forward to seeing what he's going to do moving forward. With that being said, the only other award I feel like they got right, okay, was the Rookie of the year. Okay, because obviously it goes without saying who Rookie of the year was. That quarterback down there in Texas, some dude who played for Ohio State. Man, he was really good. Some Stroud guy, C.J. Stroud to be exact, guys. That guy deserved Rookie of the Year before the season even ended. Okay, so let's just put that out there. But guys, some of these other ones. Now here's the thing: I have nothing against Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco played 10 less games than Baker Mayfield. So it's hard for me to say Joe Flacco deserves comeback player of the year when there's a couple of things surrounding that. One, he has the number one defense in football. Okay? So it's easy to win football games when you have the number one defense in football. That's the first thing. Secondly, Joe came in and he played, I think he played 7 games it was. Okay? Baker played 17. So if you're going to give comeback player of the award, shouldn't it go to a person who fits the criteria most and not, on just the team that had maybe the most success on paper, right? Because that's something else that I don't think we were considering. Joe Flacco at one point in time was a Super Bowl winning quarterback, okay? And I remember it was a hell of a game he played, okay? But realistically speaking, again, to fit the criteria, it seems like Tampa Bay is getting a little biased, but the bias is against Tampa Bay. And the reason why I feel this way is because it's kind of been that way. If you guys remember a few years ago, Tom Brady came over to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady that year posted, I think it was 4,500 yards passing, 50 touchdowns to like 15 interceptions, and both of those numbers were number one in the league. And they gave the MVP to Aaron Rodgers. Now, for those of you who remember that, well, you know where I'm going with this. You understand, where my feelings are at with this. But for those of you who don't remember, Aaron Rodgers had, I think, 6 less touchdowns and like a few hundred less yards. I think he had like 42 to Tom's 45, if I remember correctly. And they gave it to Aaron. The reason why they gave it to Aaron was because Aaron was on the team that they were pushing at the time. So look at the NFL, guys. Teams always get pushed at specific times. And I hate to use this analogy, but you guys remember the Patriots back in 2001? Anybody else remember what happened in 2001? 9/11. Okay, my mom's from New York. I'll never soon forget that event that took place. And after that, it seemed like the Patriots were getting so much love, and that's where the Patriot hate started to come from. I'm not a Patriot hater. I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, and as a result, I end up being a Patriot fan because I don't like the teams that Tom Brady had to play against. So, I would like for them to be fair with, with these honors, these NFL honors, if you will, because there's that. So then I look over at Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion, is a toss-up between Kyle Hamilton and Antoine Winfield Jr. We are no doubt in a league where having tremendous safety play is paramount to the success of a defense, simply because there are so many creative offensive gurus out there. Look at the Shanahans. Look at what's his name down in Miami. You got Josh Allen up in Buffalo. You got Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. Like all these teams with these dynamic offenses. And when you think about how to be successful, well, solidifying that back end is a strong way to do it, right? Because if they can't one and done you, they're gonna have to struggle. If they have to struggle, you make it easier on yourself and harder on them, right? So the safety position was dominated by two of the very best seasons that we've seen by safeties in recent memories, okay? And when I look at that, I say that Antoine Winfield Jr. did more than Kyle Hamilton. Now, Kyle Hamilton was the best coverage safety in the NFL. And what that means is not only was it hard to score on him, but it was hard to even complete the ball, whenever you're throwing to his side of the field. And that's something that also Antoine Winfield presented, but struggled with outside the 20. So he put the clamps down once you get in the red zone, right? But before you get into the red zone, these underneath passes are going to be available to you. However, Antoine Winfield Jr. did not give up a touchdown all year. I believe he had 6 sacks to end this, 5 or 6 sacks to end the season on top of everything. So you're talking about a well-rounded safety who can also play defensive back, who can also cover the tight end, who can also strip the ball and have, multiple touchdown-saving plays in the same year. Okay, when I mean multiple, I believe it was 3 of them. Okay, and not to mention also have 3 interceptions on the season. Forced fumbles and fumble recoveries. Like, this guy was everywhere. This guy was he reminded me of Derek Brooks, back in 02, but just playing safety. A better analysis would be he was Troy Polamalu last year. Okay, that's who Antoine Winfield Jr. reminded me of last year. It reminded me of Troy Polamalu. Okay, just the disruptor that Troy Polamalu was for that steel curtain defense, the monstrous ability he had to find the football and always be around and always make plays when the team needed him to. And I think that Antoine Winfield Jr. definitely should have got Defensive Player of the Year. If not him, I'm pushing for Kyle Hamilton. Unfortunately, they gave it to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a tremendous player. There's no doubt about that. I would never discount that. But he's also one player on the best defense. The Browns recorded the best defense last year. At the end of the regular season, they were ranked 1. And what that tells me is that basically it wasn't just Myles Garrett. Everybody else was tremendous on that defense as well. They had tremendous cornerback and safety play as well as great linebacker and defensive line play. So I feel as though when you give the award, you have to give the award to the person who makes that impact, right? I think when you have the number 1 defense in the country, that it's hard for just one player, because think about, like, look at the 49ers defense. The 49ers have had a top 5 defense each of the last 6-7 years, but they have 2 of the very best linebackers like 2 top 10 linebackers right now in the NFL, okay? So when I look at that, I say, okay, well, that means that I can't really look at just Fred Warner and say, oh, he's the MVP. No, he's not. He's just, the best linebacker on that team, yes. But it's a team with a ton of studs on defense. So I wouldn't look at him and consider him a Defensive Player of the Year. Whereas Kyle Hamilton and Antoine Winfield Jr. actually legitimately stood out from their team. You go look at those team stats and that's top of the line on defense right there. So I had to get my feelings into the mix a little bit there for that, just because lately these NFL honors have been kind of questionable. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I felt like that could kind of have gone anywhere. Yaya Diaby was obviously in in the mix. But unfortunately, due to the same thing that I stopped Joe Flacco from getting Comeback Player of the Year, I have to do the same thing with Yaya. Yaya spent the first 6 or 7 weeks injured, okay? So when you're missing a lot of time, whether it's because you're a backup or because you're hurt, it's hard for me to make you out to be that impact player that you very well may be, but the amount of proof, the amount of experience we have to go off of it is minimal, right? So, same thing I hold Joe Flacco for. At the same time, though, I had Joe Flacco in my top 3 as well. I didn't know if I want to put him 3rd or 2nd because obviously the Damar Hamlin situation, but I don't think Damar played 3 games this year. So I can't really put him into the mix either. I'm glad that he's playing football again, but he's also something I couldn't necessarily put into the mix. So, and then you had some of these other guys who got injured. So obviously Aaron Rodgers could have been a Comeback Player of the Year, if he had stayed healthy, but then again, he didn't stay healthy. You see what I'm saying, guys? So, that's what my concept is there for the NFL honors. I'm happy that they got Rookie of the Year correct, and I'm happy that they got MVP correct, but for some of these other ones, I feel like they just kind of just gave out the award just to give it out. I don't think that they really looked at the body of work that some of these players and personnel put together in order to get, the nomination, if you will. So that's my opinion. There we go. So yeah, he played 5 games and recorded 2 tackles. Right. I can't give you anything for that. I can't say, hey, way to go. I'm proud of you for making it back, right? I'm proud of you for getting through that dark space in time that you went through, especially after that scary injury he dealt with last year. But at the same time, I still have to, because then how are we respecting the rest of the league, right? If we just give it, in that situation, because that's an emotional thing, right? We're not here to be emotional. We're here to get it right. So, 5 games, 2 tackles. I can't give you Comeback Player of the Year award for that. And I imagine that's how the rest of the voting panel felt. Real quick, before we get into our first break, I just want to give a quick shout out to Tom. So Tom was doing the voting for MVP, and he voted, of course, for Lamar Jackson. And for those of you who do not know, there's this interview between the two, not interview, but there's this interaction after the field between the two, where Tom Brady really says, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I love, the work that you do on the field, and I hope you keep going. I'm going to keep watching you. And here we are a couple years later, and we're seeing how accurate that statement is from Tom Brady and him voting for Lamar Jackson, the MVP. So congratulations again, Lamar. Just wanted to touch on that. I thought that was really cool that Tom really went out of his way to do that. But yeah, guys, so that's what's going on there for Tampa Bay. And again, we don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but hopefully Tampa re-signs everybody they need to re-sign. So in the meantime, between time, let's go ahead and get our first break of the evening. When we get back, we'll go ahead and talk about what's going on in the NBA. The NHL, we got some college basketball we were just talking about. I'll give you the wrap-up to what happened at that North Carolina-Miami game. North Carolina was able to pull away, unfortunately, there at the very end. And we'll go for there, get you caught up for what's going on next week, guys. Thank you for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. And as always, it's brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Locke.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you and powered by IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Hey, guys, listen, real quick apology for, I know I'm having a little congestion right now, and for those of you who are familiar with me, I live in South Tampa. I live in Brandon, which is right next to Tampa, actually, more specifically. It's essentially just like Tampa 1.2, if you will, 1.5, whatever you want to call it. And if you're somewhere where there's snow, I don't want to upset you, but, like, it's 80, it's like, as it was 80, it's 72 outside and clear, okay? And that's kind of why I have this congestion going on, sinuses, you guys know how that is. Obviously, we had some rainy weather, the rainy weather went to cold weather, the cold weather went up and down, low of 40, high of 65 kind of thing, right? And then boom, just out of nowhere, 80, And you guys know how Florida does, a little tropical paradise down here, but it doesn't mean it's perfect, and that's what's getting everybody right now, myself included. That change of weather, it gets us all. So just, if you're out there, if you're in Tampa or just in the South in general, make sure you got your medicine with you. Make sure you got your, whatever it is you're taking. Make sure you got, your vitamin C. If you got your Tylenol, cold and flu. I like ZzzQuil, helps me sleep well at night. So there's that. But you get what I'm saying. Just make sure you're taking care of yourself, guys, because obviously right now with the change of weather and springtime coming upon us, there's going to be a lot of allergies. So get ready for that, guys. It's crazy indeed. It's in the 60s here in Cleveland. It's crazy. We're all 60. Yep, I can only imagine, and then mind you, Cleveland, that's much further up north, right? So 60 is probably a blessing. Because I'm pretty sure it gets a lot colder there up there in Cleveland. From what I've seen, anywhere over 60 or around 60 is pretty good right now. But it up there, Detroit, right, New York. It's very, very interesting to see the change of weather because again, we don't get that down here. We don't get it. We don't get snow. We don't even get 20-degree weather. I think the last time it was 20 here, I was probably in high school, in all honesty. And I can't make that up. But, just a little weather small talk right there for you guys. But no, realistically, just giving you a heads up on that. And again, I do apologize for my congestion. So just bear with me in that. But guys, let's get back to the matter at hand. So I got some info for you guys on the Bolts. So first things first, okay? We're going to address the elephant in the room when it comes to the Bolts, all right? For those of you who saw the injury in the Bolts game against the Rangers, It was a 3-1 Rangers win, and Mikhail Sergachev unfortunately broke his leg on the ice. He was going on, it was off puck issue. He was actually going to the puck and collided with I can't remember the player's last name, but first name Alexis. And it wasn't a dirty play. That's the first thing I want to address. I don't think that was a dirty play. I think that was no different than any other check that we normally see on the ice. It was a relatively undramatic check, but unfortunately, in sports we have very crazy things that take place. Now, it's very important to note that Sergachev just returned from a 17 game layoff due to a leg injury. So, I feel like these things happen as a sign, and perhaps it was more important for him to have to deal with this injury now, because when you're returning from a leg injury and you suffer another leg injury, that means a lot. Agreed. It was clean. All prayers for Mikhail Sergachev, dude. We're pushing for you to get healthy. He was so emotional coming off the ice, and you could tell that the guy really loves the game. We love Sergachev down here in Tampa. For those of you who do not know, he's one of our better players, somebody that we're very, very fond of here in Tampa Bay. So, prayers up to him, and hoping nothing but a speedy recovery. He just had surgery, and to repair the fractures in his tibia and fibula. For those of you who understand those details, so that's what happened there. Just, again, wishing nothing but the best. You said it best, Dad. And hopefully he comes back bigger and better than ever. But let's take your time, Mikhail. If you ever hear this, bro, take your time. Don't rush your comeback. Nurture yourself. Get healthy. Get comfortable mentally and physically, right? Because injuries do a number on you mentally as well. All right. Get comfortable. Get back to yourself. All right. And we'll be good to go. And we have the Blue Jackets tonight. I was actually going to get ready to talk about that, and that's what I think is very interesting. After suffering such a loss as that, and being in the area that the Bolts have been in, I mean, they're 2-2 in their last 4, and then obviously that injury is just that's just going to add insult to injury, no pun intended. It's going to be interesting to see how the Bolts play against the Blue Jackets tonight, because if they let that cloud hang over them, we're in for a long All-Star break, right? I mean, not All-Star break, but a long second half of the season since the All-Star break. You make a good point there. And shout out to CBJ that he's getting back. So congratulations, to him getting back on the ice. I know that's a huge deal as well. So and it's going to be important to see how that goes. Of course, it's something else that we'll be monitoring tonight during that game, but. I really hope that the Bolts are able to put it together, because shortly after we play the Blue Jackets, guess who we have to play? Okay? The Bruins. All right, so for those of you who do not know, the Bruins and the Bolts have this lengthy history of hockey. It's not as lengthy as it sounds. It's more game-related. I feel like the Bruins and the Bolts are like, if you guys remember when Tom was still with New England and Patrick Mahomes first came out, and if you go look at the stats player-to-player base-wise, Tom Brady's responsible for the first regular season loss that Patrick suffered, the first playoff loss that Patrick suffered, and the first Super Bowl loss that Patrick suffered. So, it's like that. But the only issue is that the Bruins are actually Tom Brady and we're Patrick. The Bruins like to beat up on Tampa Bay, man. That's all I can do. That's all I can say. Now, you can say, listen, it's the best team in hockey. They like to beat up on everybody, and I agree. The problem is we're in the same conference as them, and yeah. It's like being in the same conference with Alabama, It's just like, oh, Alabama. You go down your schedule, you're like, okay, LSU, Texas A&M, Mississippi, Alabama. Dang it. If you guys know what that's like from watching college football, you get what I'm saying. You get the analogy. So, Bolts, let's put it together, guys. Now, the Bolts are rocking a 27-20-5 record. By no means not a bad record at all. Something very good, something good to be, something to be very proud of. Excuse me. Jesus Christ, I can't English right now. Something to be very proud of for the Bolts at the moment, but we could play better. Visiting the Blue Jackets are a little underwhelming at the moment. They're rocking a 16-24-10 record, so the Bolts on paper have a chance to really, shine a light, that they're okay. That they're not stressing, that they're not, losing their composure, because again, Sergachev being as prominent he was on the defensive side of the puck, that's a struggle. And again, sometimes we see teams collapse after severe injuries like that. Sometimes we see teams rally and become even better, right? So we'll see tonight what takes place. Again, going to need all the momentum as possible. That game's going to take place tonight at 7 p.m. So if you're looking for some Bolts hockey or some Blue Jackets hockey, tonight is the night to check it out. Again, 7 p.m. start time for that game. But the following game against the Bruins is going to be Tuesday, February 13th, 7 p.m. Okay, so guys, I want you to remember Tuesday, February 13th, because I got a lot of sports coming your way on February 13th, okay? So if you're busy or if you're trying to catch a couple of games, I'm going to give you a couple of them that you can watch, but just be noted, that's going to be one heck of a busy day for sports, guys, because it's not just here with the teams in Florida. There's going to be a whole bunch of other teams going to be playing on Tuesday as well, especially now that we're getting closer to March Madness, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about that coming up in a moment as well. So Bolts, Bruins, Tuesday, February 13th, 7 p.m. Get ready for that game. I'm going to try and catch it. I don't think I have anything to watch Tuesday outside of NXT, so I should be able to bubble back and forth between those two, and I'll be able to give you guys a synopsis following week about what has taken place in that game. The Bruins rocking a 32-10-9 record right now, currently first in the Atlantic Division, playing the best hockey. That team scares me, man. Like I said, that team just reminds me of Big Bag Alabama from back in the day, all right? Man, if you want to know if you're playing good hockey or not, beat the Bruins consistently. It's really that simple. You want to know if you're playing good hockey or not, beat the Bruins consistently. That's my logic when it comes to the Atlantic Division, okay, guys? So, good luck to the Bolts. Good luck to... Okay, no, not good luck to the Bruins. They don't need no luck. They're too good. Just good luck to the Bolts. Let's go, boys. Let's get a win tonight here. Build some momentum and go see the Bruins and see if we can pull off an upset. And I agree with you there, Ralph. It is definitely going to be a playoff atmosphere between these two teams because these are two teams that have hooked it up in the playoffs probably the most in the Atlantic Division in recent memory, and this is one of the things where, like I said, it just reminds me of Tom Brady versus Patrick. You know, it really reminds me of that because two very class acts that are on the ice getting on there, but of course, you know, the Bruins, they're on fire. Sheesh, man, what they've been able to do, longevity-wise and consistently speaking, impressive stuff on the ice, guys. Very impressive stuff on the ice. Got to give credit where credit is due, okay? So, yeah, that's what's going on there with the Bolts, guys. And like I said, Mikhail Sergachev had his surgery for his broken leg, fractures in his tibia and fibula. So, again, prayers up to him. Get well soon, my friend. We hope to see you on the ice again very soon. But be careful and take your time. There's no rush for this, okay? Moving on from that, let's go ahead and jump into the NBA, guys. As you guys know, we have two teams here in Florida. And they're both essentially in South Florida. I don't know why we act like they're not. Orlando and Miami are nothing 3.5-4 miles away from each other. So, well, let's see here. The last time we were talking about the Magic and the Heat, we were saying they're having one of the most similar seasons we've ever seen by two in-state basketball teams, okay? That has not changed, okay? Check it out. I'm going to give you a couple of stats real quick, okay? Both teams are 28 and 24, okay? Currently, like right now. Both teams are 28 and 24. Both teams have won 4 of their last 5. The last loss by the Magic was to the Heat. That's how intricate these two teams are right now. The only difference between the two seems to be the experience edge that Miami is hosting over the Magic. The Magic being such a young team with one of the youngest All-Stars who's ever seen, Paolo Blanchard. I always say his name wrong, but he's played such tremendous basketball for the Magic, and that team has grown so much in the last 2 years, and now you're starting to see that resurgence with the Heat, where they're using their experience, their veteran experience with these guys. Bam Adebayo, Eric Spoelstra again, inking his $120 million deal to stay head coach of the Heat until the end of the century, essentially. You get what I'm saying. These two teams are mirroring each other in the worst way. Well, hopefully, they're going to be able to mirror each other properly tonight, between tonight and tomorrow night, I should say, because the Heat have a game tomorrow against, guess who? Boston. So there's this thing, right, with Florida teams playing, Boston teams, Massachusetts, that whole Northeast part. There's something going on there, right? Like there's some type of partnership we clearly don't know about. But Heat, Boston, tomorrow, 2 p.m., earlier than normal, okay, guys? So just be prepared for that. Obviously, it's going to be earlier because, everybody's going to watch the Super Bowl. Like, let's call a bird a bird. Let's call a spade, okay? Super Bowl comes on tomorrow. There's not really any fighting the Super Bowl. It's one of the most watched worldwide spectacles that we've had ever, next to the World Series, NBA Finals, things like that. So everybody's going to be watching that game. If you're not watching it for the game, you're watching it for the halftime show. So obviously there's that as well for all of those people, if family members who aren't necessarily into the football game. And then also don't forget about the premieres, right? We're going to have some movie premieres. There's going to be a lot to watch for. So of course I'm going to watch, if it wasn't already transparent, go 49ers. I know we moved on from the football part of the segment, but just wanted to put that out there. Go 49ers, my second favorite team in history. I fell in love with that team a long time ago, and so I'm hoping for the best, and I would like them to get that next ring because they deserve it. Okay, and obviously I'm kind of tired of seeing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl every year too. I mean, I don't want to be a hater. I'm just being honest. It's starting to seem like a recurring theme here. Okay, and yeah, that's that. But back to the whole Boston thing. Boston is rocking a 40-12 record. They're number one. Okay? They're number one in the East. This is a typical thing, though. If you guys have watched the NBA each of the last few seasons, Boston has legitimately been 1 or 2 pretty much the entire series. I think that Boston has a great team attribute to it, but when it comes down to the end of the game, they have been notorious for letting games and playoff series, let alone a playoff ring, slip out of their fingers at the end, and that's just something that I think that will continue in Boston. Unfortunately, I don't think they have a true closer on that team, and because they don't, obviously, making the playoffs is not just going to be, the easy way in and the easy way out. Yeah, you're playing great basketball right now, but we'll see how that goes, how that translates into the playoffs there for Boston. Miami's going to want to get a win here against number 1 in the East. They're rocking a 28-24 record, as I mentioned before. So you're talking about a sub 12, it is. All right, 12-game differential between these two teams. Miami still make the playoffs, but they're probably going to bump into Boston at some point in time. So that's just something to take in consideration. Like I said, go Heat. That game tomorrow, 2 p.m. in case you want to check it out. It doesn't get any easier, though. Following that game against Boston, they're going to go see Milwaukee after that, the Bucks. That's going to be Tuesday, February 13th. There's that February 13th bit again, okay? Like I said, big night for football, sports in general, guys. February 13th, 8 p.m., that's going to be the Heat-Bucks ball game. That's going to be an interesting ball game, too, because obviously these are two teams that we're most likely going to see each other in playoffs as well at some point in time, given where they're at, speaking of rank-wise, right? And like I said, right now the Heat are 7th, okay, in the East. The Boston Celtics are number 1, okay, and you have the Milwaukee Bucks, who are number 3 at the moment. So these are all teams that are most likely going to be in the playoffs. So again, big playoff field there. Heat have won 4 of their last 5. They're on fire again. They got to continue this concept, though, with the next 2 games. And if they can make it 7 out of 8, they'll be sitting pretty as they move into this less stressful version of basketball that they'll be playing after that Bucks game. Because again, Boston Bucks that's 2 of the toughest back-to-back games you're going to get. The Magic have it a little bit easier. They're going to be playing the Bulls tonight. That game 7 p.m. in case you want to check that game. Bulls haven't exactly been playing tremendous basketball this year. Okay, they've been teeter-tottering. They're struggling. They're 25-27 right now, so 2 under 500. Not where you want to be for a Chicago team. But hey, at the end of the day, that success was had a cap with the players that they have on that team. It did have a cap, and you knew that the continuity wasn't going to be there after a few years. So it doesn't surprise me what Chicago is going through. They have a lot of great players, but like I said, they have a ceiling. That team has a ceiling, and it's unfortunate whenever you have a team that has a ceiling because it always seems to be one of those teams. This is a team that could make a late season push, and then they never do it, right? So that's kind of what I'm seeing from the Bulls right now. Magic should be able to get this game pretty easily. They've been playing relatively good basketball. When I say relatively good, that's actually selling them short. Again, they're 4 of their last 5 as well. Their only loss was, again, to the Heat recently. So if the Magic keep playing the way that they're playing, they could very well find themselves in the playoffs as well. They're going to need a little bit of help. But hey, they can do it, okay? That would be pretty cool, too, by the way. See the Heat and the Magic in the playoffs. I mean, come on, when was the last time we saw that, right? No, for real, when was the last time we saw that? That was like, what? Well over a decade ago? I want to say. Yeah, about well over a decade ago. The following game from the Bulls is going to be the Thunder. Now, the Thunder, on the other hand, it's going to be a hard game over there for the Magic. Now, the Thunder are rocking a 35-16 record. They're currently 2nd in the West, and they're playing some tremendous basketball. They're playing tremendous club basketball, though. That's what it comes down to. And whenever you're playing tremendous club basketball like that, you're always going to be a hard team to beat because of your level of consistency. So, good job to the Thunder for what they've been able to do. Magic, that's going to be a true test for you guys coming up. Hopefully, you rise to the occasion and get the dub. We'll see what happens. Again, that game, you guys sensing a trend here? Tuesday, February 13th, 7:30 p.m. Okay? Tuesday, February 13th is a very important day for sports. You get where I'm going with this, guys. Just be prepared. There's going to be a lot to bounce between. I got a few more games to tell y'all that are coming to you on that exact same day as well. So, yeah, but like I said, Heat, Magic mirroring each other right now. Both 4 of the last 5. Both looking to make the playoffs together. Both playing tremendous basketball. Just one team's a veteran team. The other team's a young team. Congratulations to both teams this far into the season. And guys, just continue to play well. Just keep doing what you're doing. And, you'll find success as you move into the playoffs. And that's what I'm looking forward to, right? So shout out to our Florida teams. Good job, guys. Now, real quick, before we, move on into the next thing, I want to acknowledge this right here. So, sorry, son, go KC. Yes, so for those of you who do not know, me and my dad, my dad's not being impartial. He likes the Niners too, but he's feeling the Chiefs for this one. I don't blame him for feeling the Chiefs on this one. The Chiefs, again, there's a little bit of bias with that team, and I think that they do have a tremendous ball club. See, that's the thing that bothers me, is I'm very high on Patrick Mahomes. I think Patrick Mahomes is already a top 20 quarterback all time, and he's working his way into the top 10 category. I can't give him top 10 yet because he still has to establish himself in a few other areas. And one of those areas is going to have to be how he plays, when the chips are down. Case in point is that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay a few years ago. People picked the Chiefs to win that game, and we destroyed the Chiefs, okay? And we destroyed the Chiefs because, well, we were the better team. Didn't have nothing to do with who's hurt, who's not hurt. We came in ready to play, and we played better than them, period, the end. Because if you're talking about somebody who's that good, they're usually able to lift their team up. Right? And we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen time. I mean, guys, do y'all remember when Adrian Peterson carried Minnesota to the playoffs? Because you're not going to sit here and tell me that Christian Ponder was really that good. You're not going to tell me that. Do y'all even remember Christian Ponder? I do, because he went to FSU. But if you're not from Florida, do you even remember who that guy was? And then there was another guy, too. I can't remember what his name was. It was Tavarius Jackson? Guys, Adrian Peterson literally carried Minnesota on his back. Okay, to the playoffs. And an MVP season, if you guys remember that. Okay, was it like 15 yards, 18 yards shy of the 2,000-yard mark for AP that year? So that's what I mean, right? And I think that Patrick Mahomes hasn't been able to do that when he doesn't have at least another star by his side, whether that star was Tyreek Hill, whether it's Travis Kelce. It doesn't really matter. We've seen what happens when Travis Kelce can't play football, and it's hard for the Chiefs to win. Okay, so that's the point that I'm making here. Travis Kelce, a phenomenal football player in his own right. I don't believe that he'll pass Gronk as the greatest tight end of all time. I don't even have him number 2, to be completely honest with you. But at the same time, he is a tremendous tight end. I love the work that he puts on the field. And, I'm wishing nothing but the best for this game. Dad, I know you're going Chiefs. I'm going 49ers. And I'm going to say this real quick. The reason why the 49ers win this ball game isn't because of Brock Purdy. It's because of Christian McCaffrey and that offensive line of the 49ers. Okay, Christian McCaffrey goes for 150 yards, probably rushing, if not all-purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if he has another 40, 45 on, in the air. He goes for 2 touchdowns, and I think he seals the game late. I think that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in football right now, and he's been that way pretty much. You could tell he had it in him in college, okay? I think it's translating now. I think he's on a team that can really utilize him, and we've seen him when he has time to prepare for teams, barring injury. Christian McCaffrey is the difference in this game, and he's the reason why the 49ers win this Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised to see a score of somewhere around 31-24. There is a possible chance this game kind of turns into a shootout because the 49ers defense hasn't been as good as it can be. But should that 49ers defense play its best football, don't be surprised if they shut out the Chiefs as well. Andy Reid is a tremendous head coach, but at this point we've seen basically everything that he's put together for this team. And let me tell you something, when the Ravens are holding you to 17 points, damn near scoreless in the entire second quarter, and that's not even the best defense in the country, that means a lot, guys. That really means a lot. So I'm going to go 49ers in this game, 31-24 ball game. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 31-17 ball game, to be honest with you. But I just think Christian McCaffrey's the difference. I think that, Brock Purdy's not going to have to make too many big plays because I think that the offensive line and Kyle Shanahan's genius will be able to brainstorm their way into an early and consistent lead. Also, like you said, Dad, shout out to Devin Hester and Andre Johnson for making the Hall of Fame. It's about time now. Get Randy and Terrell Owens in there. Guys, now that we are in this time, and this is something I want to share with you guys, for those of you who are listening, I'm pretty sure y'all will agree with this. The NFL is missing these kind of players. The Devin Hesters, Andre Johnson, Chad Ochocinco's, Terrell Owens, and Randy Moss. And I'm saying that to say this, okay? Now, at first it may seem like, okay, you're being dramatic, Corey. No, check me out. The NFL right now has no personality. You guys remember Marshawn Lynch? Guy was hilarious, right? Like, he just shows up and I'm here so I don't get fined. You know what I'm saying? And, like, you're watching it because he's cracking you up, because he's making you laugh, because his personality is showing that it's more than just a game. These guys aren't just hard-headed Neanderthals that go out there and hit each other and run a ball and then jump around and dance and don't speak clear English when they score a touchdown. These are people with personality, okay? So it would be huge for these guys who had monstrous personalities to make the Pro Football Hall of Fame, because look at some of the greatest Hall of Famers of all time. They all got personality. Joe Montana, the comeback kid, right? That's what you think. He's the original comeback kid. You guys remember Deion Sanders? Prime time. There was no way in hell Deion wasn't getting in the playoffs, my bad, the Hall of Fame. Greatest cornerback to ever do it. The man scored 23 touchdowns 6 different ways. What? Biggest personality before. He's had the biggest personality, okay? And I agree, Hines Ward, another guy with a wonderful personality. Did you guys know, for those of you who watched the Batman series, the Dark Knight series, in the third movie, Batman Dark Knight Rises, they played a game. All right, there's a football game that the stadium that Bane blew up, and the team that was playing they kicked the ball off, and it was the Pittsburgh Steelers essentially, right? So you saw big Ben Roethlisberger, but the guy who returned the opening kick for a touchdown was wearing what number? 86. He was Hines Ward, guys. If you guys didn't notice that I thought that was so cool. But yeah, get Hines Ward in there. Absolutely agree with you there, Ralph. That man is an absolute legend. One of the greatest Steelers to ever do it. I'm a huge fan of his, and I'm also hoping that, ironic that you say Hines Ward, that we are able to get Antoine Randall L, because the Buccaneers were actually interviewing Antoine Randall. For those of you who did not know, they were interviewing him too as well. So, real quick, and then also touching on this last part, so it says here, Dad put in there, fun fact, the only time the Magic and the Heat made the playoffs was in 1997, the Heat won the series 3-2. Isn't that insane? Huh? How about that, guys? The only time that the Heat and the Magic both made the playoffs was 1997. For reference, that is what? Well, 97, so I was born in 94, and I'm about to be 30 this year, right? So what is that? It's 27 years ago? That's insane. It's absolutely insane. Huh? How about that, guys? That's wild. So go Bolts, go Magic, go Heat, go Bucks. We got a few more things to talk about. Let's go ahead and take our last break of the evening. When we get back, we'll close it out with college basketball, guys, and I'll send you on your way for the week, okay? Thank you guys so much for having it locked here at Palm Tree Sports. It's my pleasure to be here with you every Saturday. My name is Corey Pools, your host, and as always, it's brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And for those of you who never heard Taryn on his show, he's an absolute wizard. Does a phenomenal show. I've been able to catch the shows when I can. Usually I'm at work, but I always try to get it on when I can. I do my best, at least I can say. I'm a driver, so I have some free time where I get a chance to pop it on, but when I don't, I don't. In any case, guys, Taryn Rodriguez is an absolute legend. The guy knows exactly what he's doing there on his show. Shout out Taryn and all the other guys here in the chat, guys. Ralph, Jen, good to see you guys as well, of course, as always. Let's keep it going as we move right on into the last part of the show. I'm actually going to add a few more details of a few random things just in case you saw it, just because they're hot. But for college basketball purposes, let's start with that. So obviously we were actually watching the Canes ball game earlier against the University of North Carolina, the Tar Heels. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what's going on there in the ranking system, the Tar Heels are one of the best teams in college basketball right now. They're ranked 3 with an 18-5 record. Miami is rocking a 15-8 record. Miami was once ranked, but they're no longer ranked at the moment. This is subject to change, especially with some of the changes that we've seen as far as wins and losses, what ranked teams have been. Teams like Kentucky have began to struggle, and that is always a good thing whenever you have a team like Miami or like the Gators. The Noles are a little bit further behind. They're definitely not quite on the same tier list as the Gators and Miami is, but they're rising up. They're getting better every week. They just have to find a level of continuity in their style of gameplay. And again, at the end of the day, you have to be good at certain areas inherently, right? So defense is one such area. The best defense turns into a wonderful offense, of course. And then obviously in transition, basketball is one of those games where, because it possesses such a thing as transition, being effective in transition can make or break a season. We've seen that happen with a lot of teams, both in the NBA and in college basketball. So that's something else to take in consideration for the Noles. But as far as Miami's concerned, Miami was playing a really close game to UNC. They played a great game, in fact, actually. It was a 10-point ball game late in the fourth with 4 minutes to go, and they were able to close that gap into a 2-point ball game at one point. Unfortunately, UNC was able to pull away. I believe the score was, Dad, you put it in the chat, actually. Let me go ahead and go back to, I believe it was 75-72, if I remember correctly, but I want to give you guys the correct score. Yep, 75-72, UNC was able to defeat Miami. Thoughts on that? UNC was the better team anyway, on paper and on the floor. Realistically, Miami just tried. They waited a bit too long in that second half to try and turn up the heat. I think whenever you're dealing with a team like that, you have to be consistent. You have to be dogmatic. And you have to be very intuitive. Unfortunately, the dogmatic part is what Miami was missing. They decided to turn it up late, but by that point, again, playing strategic basketball should be from start to finish, not from period to period. It should be start to finish, okay? Period, the end there. That's something Miami's going to have to work on, especially if they're going to want to beat any of these top couple teams in the college basketball bracket. Currently, right now, number 4, Kansas is fighting number 13, Baylor. It's a 32-26 ball game here. Kansas ahead. Kansas rocking an 18-5 record as well. Baylor 17-5. So both these teams not too far away record-wise. Something to take into consideration, because these are two teams that we may see these Gators or these Miami Hurricanes play once the Sweet 16 pops open. These are two teams that are definitely going to be into the mix. And then, of course, with the teams that are getting really hot outside of the rankings, Miami and the Gators are two of the top teams there. We're actually going to talk about another team in Virginia Tech who's also playing pretty good basketball, as well as Clemson for that matter. So again, a lot of love across the board, right? It's not just any one conference dominating basketball at the moment. There's actually a few conferences with a lot to offer, and that's a wonderful thing, especially when you get into this college football bracket that we're about to see within 30 days. You know what I mean? So guys, it's gonna be super exciting. I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. But like I said, Miami loses a close one to UNC. Next game is going to be against Clemson. Clemson rocking a 16-7 record. That game, guess what, is not on Tuesday, guys. It's on Wednesday, the following day. Wednesday, February 14, 7 p.m. if you want to see Miami versus Clemson. This game is probably a better basketball game than it is a football game. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Dad, you say give USF some love. Let me finish with Miami first. Okay, let me finish with Miami first. So the thing is with Clemson, Miami, these two teams, I think Clemson is third in the ACC right now, and then Miami's like fourth. So these two teams, again, a game separating them. It's going to be a very interesting ball game. I don't know who's going to get the dub. On paper, it's a toss-up. Clemson, like I said, with the game ahead, but their schedule's been slightly different up until this point. So I'm going to go with Miami. I'm going to say Miami played a close game against UNC, and I think they're going to want to bounce back, and they're going to find a will to win, and they'll do just that. I think that's what it comes down to. They're 3-2 in their last 5, so by no means playing terrible. Just got to find a little bit more continuity, like I said, in these close games against these ranked teams. If they can do that, I'm pretty sure that they will be able to find a stroke of success at the end of the day. I think that's what it comes down to. Miami, pound for pound, is the best college basketball team in Florida at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them catch fire at some point. Now, as far as USF is concerned, well, USF has actually been playing good basketball this year. That's the first thing to note. Obviously, I don't think that's much a surprise as it was to see them play good football this year. USF. A 69-65 win over Rice. And okay, so that's an interesting concept that you got right there. So UCF 69, 65 over Rice. Bulls now 17-5. Weren't they in the top 25 yet? Well, dare I say it has a lot to do with the same thing that it has to do with the college football bit. Okay, USF as a sporting college has not been defined by its success in sports. In this damn near 30-year period, I would say that they've been a sports team. The point that I'm making is this. If you have a team that's been playing college basketball for 150 years, and you have a team that's been playing for 25 years, the team with 150 years of basketball experience is going to be the team that gets the love, right? Again, it's like that. It doesn't matter what sport you're watching. We see it happen in college football all the time, right? Where there are these teams that so you think about the most I'll give you an example. You think about the most storied college basketball teams, right? Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas. Those are some of the names that come to mind. You don't think USF. You think Gators before you think USF. So I think that's kind of the reason why that they've been kind of pushed out of the limelight. And yes, they're playing tremendous basketball, but they beat Rice. It's not like, it's not like Rice is UNC. Okay? That's the thing. I think that's a big part of it as well. So it's not, I don't think that they're hating on USF. I think that they're lax to give USF a ranking simply because if they give them a ranking and then something happens and they just lose 5 games in a row, they're going to be like, okay, we're not doing that again. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember, this is a board of voters. These are actual people who sit down at a table and fill out a piece of paper and say, hey, I think this team is the best team in college basketball. You got to remember that that's how that, whole process goes on. And because that process is determined by people who sit down, there is probably going to be a level of bias. Is the bias correct? No. But that's how people operate. So whenever you have a situation, think about it, we watch UFC, right, Dad? We watch UFC. We just saw Sean Strickland lose the title, and he outstruck Dricus Du Plessis 4 out of the 5 rounds. But guess what? There's for the UFC, for those for the judges, they value something other than effective striking, clearly. You see what I'm saying? Because effective striking says that Sean Strickland won the fight. It's the same thing here with USF, okay? And I hate that that's the way that it is, but realistically, that's the reason why USF has been where they are. There's no other reason why, because 17-5 record, a 17-5 record is the best record by any team, in Florida right now. Okay? That's the best record. But they've been around for literally a breath. In the span of some of these teams playing basketball, they've been around for nothing more than 1% of the time that some of these other teams have been playing basketball. So that's the reason why USF has been given the kind of treatment that they've been given. I was trying to find the right word for it. Unfortunately, there's nothing else to describe it better. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick, Dad, just to give you a heads up on what's going on there. Like I said, it's unfortunate whenever there's voting, but whenever there's voting, there's bias. So that's what it comes down to. Gators and Noles, on the other hand, though, real quick to cover what's going on with them. Gators rocking a 16-7 record. They were able to beat Auburn. Big win for them. Auburn ranked 12 right now. That makes 2 now ranked wins for Florida in the last week. The last one was Kentucky. Florida was able to defeat Kentucky in a very close game. Remember, we talked about that earlier in the season, that they had a very close game, and Florida played very well. They didn't close properly, and that's why they lost the first game. Their second meeting, literally the Gators did everything I said they need to do. Close properly, stay defensive, and stay disciplined inside that last 2-minute mark, right? Because, again, that game was the Gators' game up until, 4 minutes to go. And, then they blew it away. So this is an example of them not letting that happen. Florida led as many as 29 in that game against Auburn, and they never trailed. So it looks like Florida's finally starting to wake up and smell the coffee and put their offense together. And that offense can be very potent if they're playing properly, and as long as they don't start to blow leads. We're very good at the three-point line, especially when we're in rhythm. We've gotten a lot better in transition. Clearly, after that game with Kentucky, I think that was a big start of it, because that was the issue that we suffered, and because of that, that's just a that's a struggle right there, right? Like that's a struggle to do, but we were able to do it. So good job, Gators. Again, rocking a 16-7 record. That win against Auburn, another SEC win as well. So that's also another big step there. The next game is also going to be a SEC game against LSU. 12-11 is LSU's record at the moment. So they're not exactly, Auburn, but still a team we're going to have to respect. They're a game over 500 and also a rival. So, at the end of the day, let's go get that W, go to 17-7, find 10 wins above the loss record, and that would be a phenomenal thing for the Gators, especially moving into this Sweet 16 that we're going to be dealing with moving forward in March when this March Madness takes off, guys. That game is going to be Tuesday, February 13th. There's that Tuesday, February 13th, again, 8 p.m. I think, obviously, the Gators are going to get the game. I mean, they're 5-1 in their last 6. They're completely on fire. 2 ranked wins, 3 SEC wins. The only loss was the Texas A&M. I think that the Gators go ahead and take care of business against LSU, and they move on and just continue to do so. Again, like I said, sliding into March, we're going to have to get as many wins as possible, and I'm going to leave it at that. Noles, on the other hand, 13-9 record. They're kind of showing their blemishes. They've been struggling all year. In the ACC, of course, not an easy conference to play in to begin with. They're going to go see the Cavaliers, the 18-5 to be specific, Cavaliers, tonight at 8 p.m., just in case you want to watch some Noles basketball. That's going to be time to check it out. Unfortunately, obviously, I'm going to rock with the Cavaliers. They've been playing some of the best basketball that they've played in recent memory, okay? This team looks good, and 18-5 doesn't say enough for it. They should be ranked. The fact that they're not ranked, I don't think that they're ranked. I didn't see that they were ranked. Kind of bothers me a little bit. So good job, Cavaliers. Virginia, and then after that, they're going to go to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is rocking a 13-9 record, so the Noles and Virginia Tech a lot closer record-wise than Virginia and the Noles. That game is going to be, guess when? Tuesday, February 13th, 9 p.m. Big day for sports, guys. All right, so be ready for that on Tuesday, February 13th. Got a bunch of games coming your way. You got hockey, you got basketball, college basketball, and no telling what else. Again, obviously, there's going to be some NXT to watch, but I'm going to be checking that out. So the Noles are 2-2 in their last 4. They're going to need this win. They're going to need both of these wins, realistically, to try and catch back on fire before March. If they're not able to do it, I don't see them making the big dance. Period. The end. I think these 2 games are going to determine really where they go moving forward. If no wins here, then they're not moving forward. And that's pretty much it, though, guys. That's what I have going for you. I know the show went a little bit over longer than what it normally goes to. Giving some personal insight on some things from being down here in Florida and whatnot, and what it's like with these teams as well, like what we're seeing consistently. I hope you guys do the same on your shows. For those of you who are hosting, for those of you who are not hosting, guys, thank you so much for being here with me here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. It's been a pleasure. Real quick, okay, so that you said, fun fact, 50-year anniversary of USF basketball started 73 and 74 as an independent. Right, as an independent, right? So independent teams aren't respected. Realistically speaking, again, it's the colleges that have the 150 plus years of consistent ball play. I mean, think about what the first championship was ever played. It was like 18 something. I can't even remember the year. I just know it was in the 1800s. So that blows the whole 50-year mark out of the water. I think, and that was the point that I was trying to make. Obviously, like I said, I stand by USF. I think that they're doing a phenomenal job right now. I think they're doing absolutely magical work there. I worked 5 minutes away from USF, guys, for the record. So, I see the success that they're finding, and I'm very happy for them. But again, like I said, you don't have to convince me, Dad. You don't have to convince me. It's the those who make the votes that need the convincing. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. But realistically, I think that they should be getting some love. Again, 17-5 is a better record than any other team here in Florida at the moment. And I don't think that that's going to change. I think as well as the Gators are playing, that they may not even see a record that well right now, given the fact that they've already lost 2 more games than where USF is at. And again, USF is playing tremendous team ball too. It's different when you're playing tremendous team ball, because that means you can win multiple different ways. You don't just win offensively, you win defensively, you win in transition, you win because your coaching's better. There are a lot of different things like that. Your bench may be better. There's a lot of different things like that go into the genetic makeup of these successful teams, and that's why we see the same usual suspects. I mean, come on. The University of Carolina has been winning championships in basketball since, the beginning. The earliest championship I remember, mind you, I was born in 94. They won one in 83, I think it was. 83, 82? Something like 82, 83. I think that was the year they won it. And I wasn't even an imaginary thought process at that time. Okay? Then they come back in 93. They win it in 93. You know what I'm saying? Michael Jordan went to University of North Carolina, so that's something else that I think draws a lot of attention there. And again, I don't want to be the dead horse, but that's truly what it's about there. That those storied colleges get the limelight, and that's just how it's always been. So, but go Bulls. Like, always go Bulls. That'll never change. Congratulations, USF, on what you guys been able to do, but hopefully you guys get into the big dance, because I want to see them. I like the Bulls. So, go USF. Go Gators, go Noles, go Canes. Guys, thank you so much for having it locked here on Palm Tree Sports Radio. My name is Corey Pujols, your host. I know today wasn't, the easiest show with the congestion and all that, but I thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me and enjoying this ride with me. Same place, same time next week, guys, and hopefully I'll be all cleaned up and I don't have to worry about this breathing apparatus kind of issue I'm dealing with. But until then, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the big game tomorrow. If you're here in Florida and you're betting, we're legally able to bet now. So if you're betting, do it responsibly. If you're going to go out and enjoy the game, drink responsibly. And I feel like it's important to say that because we get rowdy in my city, like really rowdy unnecessarily. So, for anybody else who can relate to that, just be safe. Hug your loved ones. Spend time with them. That's what I'm going to be doing later tonight. And today, I'm going to be spending time with the family watching the game as well tomorrow. I look forward to seeing the halftime show. Shout out to Usher. I can't wait to see how he does there on the board. I can't wait to see the commercials and the movie premieres and all that other good stuff. So, but again, thank you so much for spending your Saturday evening here with me. I look forward to seeing you guys same time, same place next week. May you guys all be blessed. Have fun. Enjoy the big game. And I will see you next time. Take it easy, guys. Peace.